Hello YouTubers, welcome to my review of A Good Man Goes to War. Before I start this review, I just want to make a personal announcement, and that announcement is about all of my reviews which I've been doing recently. Now, I've only had one comment about this, and the comment is about me not liking episodes of Doctor Who, particularly from this series, Series 6, as a lot of people don't like Series 6. But it was just a little comment about myself, and although it may not have been intended to be offensive, it kind of did offend me. The fact was, like, the comment said something like, I am not enthusiastic about Doctor Who because it's something to do with my voice. I can't help the way my voice sounds. That is how it is. You just got to live with it. If you don't like my voice, then get off my channel. Simple, really. And the comment was like me not being enthusiastic and like whether I'm a proper fan or not. Now, I'll admit there's some stories of Doctor Who that I don't like. I admit that, but there's not a lot if you compare to a lot of others. There's a lot of stories which I really, really like. So the fact that someone can say that I'm not a Doctor Who fan is just absolute bollocks, because I am a supporter of the show. You know, like I'm a supporter of my own football team. It's just that. It's just like that. So for someone to say something like that really hurts me, because I know it sounds stupid, but Doctor Who is like one of the best things, like one of the best shows out there. It's my favourite television show, and for, you know, how can someone say that when I've made like over 200 videos which is mostly about Doctor Who? It's just utter nonsense. So just to get that out there, if these reviews like offend you and they sound like I'm not like enthusiastic about Doctor Who, then just to let you know, I am very enthusiastic about Doctor Who, and I really do enjoy doing these reviews. I want to do these reviews for you guys, so just cut it out, really. I don't want any more spam comments. If you continue this, I'll just block you. So anyhow, let's get on with my review of A Good Man Goes to War. This is a story I actually quite like. There's been a couple of nitpicks here and there, the few episodes of Series 6, which, you know, it's my personal opinion, you know, and a lot of people probably do agree with me as well. So to say that as well, saying, oh, you don't like episodes of Doctor Who, you're not a true Doctor Who fan, absolute bollocks. If I wasn't a Doctor Who fan, why the bloody hell would I have that behind me? Why would I have nearly 300 action figures in my room? And why would I collect all the DVDs? There you go. And why would I make all the videos, like I said earlier? So this story sees the Doctor and Rory go to the rescue of Amy. We get some Cybermen at the beginning of this story, which I quite like. It's a nice little cameo. I know a lot of people criticise it, saying, oh, there's no point in bringing the Cybermen back. But from what we saw of them, I thought it was alright. You know, they removed the seeds on the chests. Apparently the Cybermen that feature in the opening are Cybermen from our universe, the Mondasian Cybermen. So that's kind of a nice homage to the classic series. And we get Sontaran Strax making his debut. We get Vastra, we get Jenny. They all make their debuts. We also get Dorian returning Last seen in the Pandorica opens, and we get River Song returning, who made her last appearance in Day of the Moon, second episode of this series. So there's quite a lot of things happening in this story, and does it weigh up well? Well, yes, it does. It does weigh up well. Usually, it can just fall in its arse and burn, but this story really works well. I think the writing for this story by Stephen Moffat really works. You know, you can really see he knows what he's doing. I could go so far to say it could be possibly the best story since the 11th Hour, possibly. So it's all around a very good story. Personally, I like to say it's one episode long. Originally, I think it's supposed to be like part one of a story, with part two being Let's Kill Hitler. But I'd like to class this as just one story, because it seems ridiculous, like A Good Man Goes to War and Let's Kill Hitler being all one story, because they just seem too disconnected in some way. So, Amy has been kidnapped by Madame Kavarian. She's been appearing like randomly throughout the early part of this series, like through walls. I've not actually mentioned it in my reviews, as it's not really relevant to the plot of those stories. But she's appeared in Day of the Moon, Curse of the Black Spot. She didn't appear in The Doctor's Wife, and she appeared in both parts, The Rebel Flesh and The Almost People. And a lot of fans at the time were thinking, who's this woman, who you can see through the wall? And it's this Madame Kavarian, who is revealed at the end of The Almost People, the cliffhanger at the end of that story, when Amy is actually giving birth. As it's revealed at the end of that the Amy that's been travelling with the Doctor and Rory since the Impossible Astronaut is actually a Ganga, which is it was a nice twist. I think the twist works quite well. At the end of that story, even though I wasn't particularly fussed about that story, as I said in my last review. So she's trapped on board this ship thing. It's like some sort of planetoid / ship called Demon's Run. It's a nice name. And basically what the Doctor does, he gets a lot of people to come out and kick Madame Kavarian's arse, basically, and gets all these cleric soldiers and all these monks to come out. Headless monks. I think the headless monks are quite a good concept. I think they actually work well, even though they don't appear that much in this story. But I think they do the part. They're scary, they kill people. I think it works. It's like you compare it to something like a Smiler from The Beast Below. And don't get me wrong, I like the look of the Smilers from The Beast Below, but they didn't work. You know, they didn't do their part in that story, hence why I didn't really like them as a villain, although I think the design is really good. But the design for these headless monks I think is really cool. It's a pity we've not got them as an action figure, and they really work. You know, they're really threatening, all the electricity and all that type of thing. I think it works really well, and they like shoot fireballs out of the hand. I really like that. I think it's quite cool. We get River Song, as I mentioned. She reveals a big secret to the Doctor. To be honest, I had a thought about this before it actually got revealed, like when it was first broadcast, and I thought she could possibly like relate it to Amy and Rory, and she is, because spoiler alert. I'll give you a few seconds. If you don't know, River Song is the daughter of Amy and Rory. as it's revealed at the end of the story. That's the big mid-series cliffhanger that occurred back when Series 6 aired, because Series 6 was split into 2 parts, which was all nonsense. I'm so glad Series 8 isn't. Well, I believe it isn't anyway, but that might change. So, we get that. Can anyone hear that? There's like a lawnmower outside. It's not my lawnmower or anything, it's one of the neighbours, so I'm sorry if you can hear that, but I hope you can still hear me. Yeah, so River reveals her secret, but she only turns up like near the beginning of the story and near the end. She's not in the story that much. The supporting cast is mainly Strax, Jenny, and Madame Vastra, the Silurian, the human, and the Sontaran. And you know, they work all right in this story. It's their first story, and yeah, it's quite a cool idea. We get a Sontaran and a Silurian being allies for the Doctor, seeing as before this story aired, they were actually enemies. So I think that's quite a cool twist, because makes you think that they're actually enemies before you watch the story, but they're not, because the Doctor saved them in some part in their lifetime. Dorium has a bigger part in this story, but unfortunately he gets killed. I quite like Dorium. I think he's quite a cool character. I think he really shines in this story. I quite like him. I think he's quite a cool guy. But that's my opinion anyway. The Doctor doesn't turn up till about 20 minutes in this story. But I think the build-up towards him actually appearing, like when he's disguised as a monk, I think is really cool. And I think Matt Smith in this story is, like, I think at this point it was his best performance, like up to this episode. I think it was a really dark, mysterious, but at the same time comedic role what he played in this story, which I really like. I really like it when his Doctor becomes dark, and you see that a lot more through Series 7, which is personally my favourite Matt Smith series. I quite like it when he mocks Colonel Runaway. I really like that. But Madame Kavarian, God, isn't she a bitch? She just makes everyone's lives a misery, because she's kidnapped the baby, Melody Pond, and Amy and Rory take the baby back, and then it turns out the baby's a Ganga, and you just feel so sorry for Amy and Rory. I think Karen Gillan also plays a good part in this story. Not that I'm a fan of Amy or anything, but Karen Gillan's a good actress. So yeah, we have that. We see Rory in his Centurion outfit again. The continuity from the Pandorica Opens, Big Bang, and A Christmas Carol. But he actually kicks ass in this story, Rory. I think it's probably one of Rory's best stories as well. You know, very beginning when he's on the Cyberman spaceship, he's like, when he's just stood in the spaceship and he says that line, like, did you answer my question? I don't think that's what he actually said, but it was along those lines. You know, just really, really, you just get the sense you don't want to mess with this guy. And Arthur Darvill, likewise, he plays brilliant. You know, his brilliant performance in this story. I quite like it. And all around, I just like a lot of things in this story. You have the woman from the Gamma Forests who gets killed in the battle with the monks, the headless monks, and it's just like so heartbreaking when you see the Doctor talking to her, and she's like, "I saw you once. We both ran together in those forests." And then she dies in his arms, and the Doctor says, "Yeah, I remember you." Just before she died, after she died, she turns around and she says, "Who was she?" It's a really heartbreaking moment there, and it just shows that even though the Doctor's had so many adventures, he, he doesn't remember everything. There's been a lot of heartbreak. A lot of people have died in his name. Something that has been touched upon quite a lot during the new series, particularly in the David Tennant era, such as in The Stolen Earth, when Davros says to the 10th Doctor, "How many more?" So it's quite a good moment there. I think it's brilliant acting by Matt Smith. I think the end of the story as well, really well acted with everyone involved. Strax gets killed at the end of the story. It's not actually revealed later on in the Snowmen how he actually survived, but there is a mini-sode which explains how he survived the events of him apparently dying in the story. Likewise, Dorian gets killed by the Headless Monks, but he comes back later on in the Wedding of River Song, the series finale for this series. If I was to give this episode a rating, I'd happily give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's a good story. It's not too complicated. And yeah, it's a story I really enjoy, and one I really like watching over and over again. So, there you go. It's probably the best story so far in this series. Thank you very much for watching this review, and stay tuned, and I hope you respect what I said at the start of this video about certain things. So yeah, join me next time as I shall be reviewing Let's Kill Hitler.